The words hit me like a slap across the face. You're a failure, Maya. Just like I always said you'd be. My Aunt Patricia stood in the center of my grandmother's living room, her voice loud enough for every cousin, uncle, and family friend to hear. The Sunday gathering fell silent. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. I felt 50 pairs of eyes turn toward me. My face burned. My throat tightened. I wanted to disappear into the floral wallpaper behind me. Still working that little part-time job, aren't you? Patricia continued, her smile sharp and cruel. No real career. No boyfriend. No future. Just scraping by on scraps. Her husband, Uncle Derek, chuckled from his seat on the couch. He raised his beer bottle like he was toasting my humiliation. My younger cousin Emma looked at me with pity. My grandmother stayed quiet, staring at her plate. Nobody defended me. Patricia had always been like this, tearing me down to build herself up. But today felt different. Today felt like the final straw. I stood there, frozen, trying not to cry. Then something inside me snapped. I decided right then, I was done being silent. But not the way anyone expected. I couldn't breathe inside that house anymore. I slipped out through the back door, escaping to the small garden where my grandmother grew tomatoes and roses. The evening air was cool against my burning cheeks. My hands were shaking. For years, Patricia had treated me like this. Ever since my parents died when I was 12, she'd made sure everyone knew I was the family charity case. The orphan who would never amount to anything. I heard footsteps behind me. Maya. It was my cousin Jade, Patricia's niece from her husband's side. She was one of the few people who'd ever been kind to me. I'm so sorry, she whispered, glancing back at the house. She's horrible to you. I wiped my eyes. It's fine. I'm used to it. It's not fine. Jade hesitated, then leaned closer. Maya, I have to tell you something. My aunt has been bragging for weeks that she's about to buy this incredible beach house. She won't shut up about it. My stomach twisted. Because I knew something Jade didn't. Something nobody in my family knew. I'd been hiding a secret for 2 years. The truth was simple. I wasn't broke. I wasn't failing. I wasn't barely surviving. I was thriving. 2 years ago, I'd started a remote graphic design business. What began as freelance work on the side exploded into something real. I built websites, designed logos, created branding for small companies across 3 states. I worked quietly from my tiny apartment. No flashy posts on social media. No bragging at family dinners. I learned early that Patricia would find a way to tear down anything I was proud of. So I stayed invisible. I saved every dollar I could. I invested carefully. I built a life Patricia would never believe I was capable of. Last month, my income hit 6 figures. I'd been looking at houses for weeks, something small, something peaceful, somewhere far from the judgment and the cruelty. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the name on the screen. It was my realtor, Karen. My heart started pounding. I stepped farther into the garden and answered. Maya. Karen's voice was bright. I have incredible news. The offer was accepted, Karen said. The beach house is yours if you want it. I almost dropped my phone. Wait, what? Are you sure? Completely sure. The sellers loved your offer. Clean financing. No complications. They want to close in 3 weeks. I pressed my hand against my chest. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out. The beach house. The one I'd toured 2 weeks ago and fallen in love with. 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, ocean view. It was the kind of place I used to dream about as a kid. There's just one thing, Karen added. We need your final approval by tomorrow morning. I'll do it, I said immediately. I want it. Perfect. I'll send the paperwork tonight. I hung up and stared at the garden. My hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from humiliation. It was from pure, overwhelming relief. Then Jade's words echoed in my mind. She's about to buy this incredible beach house. A cold realization washed over me. What if it was the same house? The next morning, I sat in Karen's office, staring at the stack of documents in front of me. My signature went on page after page. Initials here. Date there. Each stroke of the pen felt surreal. I was buying a house. Me. The failure. The orphan. The girl who would never amount to anything. Karen smiled as she collected the final papers. Congratulations, Maya. You're officially a homeowner. I felt a strange mix of triumph and guilt twisting in my chest. Part of me wanted to celebrate. Part of me felt like I was doing something wrong by succeeding when Patricia expected me to fail. But I pushed that feeling down. I earned this. I thanked Karen and walked out into the bright morning sunlight, clutching the folder with all my documents inside. That's when I saw him. Uncle Derek. He was standing across the street near a coffee shop, and his eyes locked onto mine. Then they dropped to the folder in my hands, specifically to the logo printed on the front. Coastal Dreams Realty. The same agency Patricia had been working with. His expression shifted from confusion to suspicion. I froze. He pulled out his phone. Derek didn't say a word to me. He just stood there, tapping on his phone screen, his eyes flicking between me and the folder. I could see him zooming in, taking a picture. "What are you doing in this part of town?" he finally called out, his voice dripping with condescension. "Just running errands," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Errands?" He smirked. "At a realtor's office. In the rich neighborhood. That's funny, Maya. Real funny." My stomach churned. I wanted to tell him to mind his own business, but I'd spent so many years keeping my head down that the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I just walked away. But I could feel his eyes on my back the entire time. By the time I got home, my phone was already ringing. I looked at the screen. Aunt Patricia. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello. Why are you pretending to buy my house?" she hissed. My blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about?" "Derek saw you. He sent me a picture of the documents. You're playing some sick game, Maya, and it's not funny." I took a deep breath. "I'm not pretending, Patricia." The line went silent. "What did you just say?" Patricia's voice was low and dangerous. "I said I'm not pretending." "You," she sputtered, then exploded. "You lying little brat. You think you can waltz in and steal my dream house? I've been working on this deal for months." "I didn't steal anything," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "I made an offer. It was accepted." "You don't have that kind of money," she screamed. "You're broke. You're nobody." Something inside me finally cracked. "You don't know anything about my life, Patricia. I know you're a failure. I know you've been coasting on sympathy since your parents died. I know." I hung up. My hands were trembling, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from anger. And something else. Power. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being humiliated. My phone buzzed again. Text after text from Patricia. Insults. Accusations. Threats to call the realtor and expose my lies. I turned my phone off and sat in the silence of my apartment. Tomorrow, there was another family gathering. And I decided right then, I wasn't hiding anymore. Patricia didn't sleep that night. I knew because she called me 17 times. Left 12 voicemails. Sent 34 text messages. Each one more unhinged than the last. "You're trying to sabotage me. You're jealous because I'm successful and you're not. You've always been ungrateful. I should have never let you into this family." That last one stung, even though I knew it was a lie. She didn't let me into anything. I was born into this family. My parents were her brother and sister-in-law. But Patricia had always acted like I was an outsider. Like I didn't belong. Like I was something to be tolerated, not loved. By morning, I felt strangely calm. I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to hide in my apartment. I wasn't going to avoid the family gathering at my grandmother's house. I was going to show up. I got dressed carefully, nothing too flashy, but nothing apologetic either. A simple navy dress, my hair pulled back, minimal makeup. I looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time in years, I didn't see a failure staring back at me. I saw someone strong. When I arrived, the whispers started immediately. The moment I walked through the door, conversations stopped. My cousin Emma stared. My uncle nodded awkwardly. My grandmother looked worried. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. Patricia had been busy spreading her version of the story. Jade caught my eye and mouthed, "She's losing it." I took a seat on the couch, calm and collected, even though my heart was hammering in my chest. Then the front door slammed open. Patricia stormed in, her face red and blotchy, her eyes wild. Derek trailed behind her, looking uncomfortable. "There she is," Patricia shouted, pointing at me like I was a criminal. "The liar. The fraud." Everyone froze. My grandmother stood up. "Patricia, that's enough." "No." Patricia's voice cracked. "She's been lying to all of you. She's trying to steal my house. She's trying to humiliate me." I stayed seated, my hands folded in my lap. "I'm not lying," I said quietly. "Yes, you are." Patricia screamed. "You're broke. You have nothing. You're nobody." I met her eyes. "I've been running a successful business for 2 years. I'm financially stable. And I bought a house." The room erupted. "You, what?" Emma gasped. "That's impossible," Derek muttered. Patricia's face twisted with rage. "You're lying. Show me proof." I pulled out my phone and opened my email. I turned the screen toward the room, showing the confirmation from my realtor. "Congratulations on your new home." Gasps rippled through the room. Patricia lunged forward, trying to grab my phone. "That's fake. She's faking it." "Patricia," my grandmother snapped. "Stop this." "Which house did you buy?" my cousin Marcus asked, his voice cutting through the chaos. Everyone went silent. Patricia's eyes were locked on mine, her chest heaving. I could have told them right then. I could have twisted the knife. But instead, I looked directly at Patricia and said, "You should ask your aunt." Her face drained of all color. She knew. She knew exactly which house I'd bought. "Tell them you're lying," she whispered, her voice shaking. I stood up slowly. "Let's take a little drive." The room exploded with confusion, but I was already heading toward the door. And one by one, my family followed. The convoy was chaos. 5 cars followed mine as I drove toward the coast. I could see Patricia in my rearview mirror, her car swerving slightly as she screamed into her phone. She was calling her realtor. Over and over. No one was answering. Jade texted me, "Is this really happening?" I didn't respond. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as the road stretched ahead of me. 30 minutes later, the ocean came into view. The sky was a brilliant blue. Seagulls circled overhead. The salty air drifted through my open window. I turned onto the private road. Then I pulled into the driveway. The beach house stood before us, exactly as beautiful as I remembered. White siding, blue shutters, a wraparound porch, and the ocean glittering just beyond the back deck. I parked and stepped out of my car. Behind me, car doors slammed. My family climbed out slowly, staring at the house in stunned silence. Patricia stumbled out of her car, her face pale. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." I walked up the front steps. I pulled the key from my pocket. And I unlocked the door. The door swung open. I stepped inside, and the smell of fresh paint and ocean air washed over me. Sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating the hardwood floors and vaulted ceilings. It was perfect. Behind me, my family filed in slowly, their eyes wide. "This is yours." Emma breathed. I nodded. Patricia stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. "You," her voice cracked. "You can't, this was supposed to be mine." "You never made an offer," I said quietly. "I was going to. I was waiting for approval you didn't have," I finished. "I know. Karen told me." Patricia's knees buckled. She grabbed the doorframe for support. Derek stood beside her, his face unreadable. My grandmother walked through the house slowly, running her fingers along the walls. When she turned back to me, there were tears in her eyes. "Maya," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Those words broke something inside me. I'd been waiting my entire life to hear them. And they didn't come from Patricia. They came from the one person who'd always quietly loved me. Then Patricia whispered, "You ruined everything." I turned to face her. "I ruined everything." I repeated, "Patricia, I didn't even know you wanted this house until yesterday." "Liar," she spat. "You knew. You've been plotting this for months." "I've been planning my future," I said. "That's not the same thing." She took a step toward me, her hands clenched into fists. "You don't deserve this. You don't deserve anything. You're nothing without this family." "That's enough," my grandmother said sharply. But Patricia wasn't listening. She was unraveling. "I wanted this house to prove something," she shouted. "To prove I was better than all of you. To prove I was successful. And you took that from me." The room went silent. Even Derek looked shocked. "You wanted the house to show off." Marcus said slowly, "That's it." Patricia's face crumpled. "You don't understand. I worked so hard. I sacrificed so much. And she pointed at me. She just gets everything handed to her." I laughed bitterly. "Handed to me? Patricia, I've worked for everything I have. You've spent years telling me I was worthless." "Because you were." "Get out," I said. "What?" Patricia stared at me. "Get out of my house." Her face twisted with rage. "You can't throw me out. This is family business." "This is my house," I said firmly. "And I'm asking you to leave. I'm calling a lawyer." Patricia shrieked. "I'm going to prove you manipulated the realtor. You stole this from me." "There's nothing to prove," I said. "I made a legal offer. It was accepted. I signed the papers." Derek grabbed her arm. "Patricia, let's go." "No." She yanked away from him. "She doesn't get to win. She doesn't." "Mom, stop," a voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned. It was Bella, Patricia's daughter. She stood there, tears streaming down her face. "You need to stop," Bella said quietly. "You're embarrassing yourself. Don't you dare side with her." Patricia screamed. But Bella just shook her head and walked away. Derek finally managed to pull Patricia toward the door. She fought him every step, screaming threats and insults. As they reached the porch, Patricia turned back one last time. And she screamed something that made my blood run cold. "I blocked your scholarship. Years ago. You didn't deserve it." The world stopped. My cousin Emma gasped. My grandmother's hand flew to her mouth. I stood frozen, staring at Patricia. "What?" I whispered. Patricia's face was red and blotchy, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Your college scholarship. The one you lost. I called the administrator and told them you were unstable. That you couldn't handle the pressure." The room spun. I'd lost that scholarship my senior year of high school. It was a full ride to a great school. When it was revoked, they said it was due to new information about my background. I'd been devastated. I'd ended up at community college instead, working 2 jobs to pay my tuition. And it was her. "You destroyed my future," I said, my voice shaking. "You didn't deserve it." Patricia shrieked. "You were just a charity case. I had to protect this family's reputation." "Get out," my grandmother said, her voice like ice. "Get out of this house right now." Derek dragged Patricia outside. Her screams echoed across the beach until their car door slammed shut. I stood there, shaking, as years of confusion suddenly made sense. Jade put her arm around me. Emma was crying. And I realized something. Patricia had been sabotaging me my entire life. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone on the back deck. The ocean stretched out before me, dark and endless under the stars. The waves crashed against the shore in a steady rhythm. I'd spent so many years believing I was broken. That I wasn't good enough. That I'd somehow failed. But it wasn't me. It was never me. Patricia had poisoned everything. My phone buzzed. Messages from my family were pouring in. Emma, I'm so sorry. I never knew. Marcus, she's been lying to us for years. Jade, you deserved so much better. Even my grandmother called, her voice thick with tears. Maya, I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. It's okay, I told her, even though it wasn't. But maybe it would be. I sat there until the sun started to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. This house wasn't just a victory. It was healing. A knock on the door pulled me from my thoughts. I opened it to find Bella standing there, her eyes red from crying. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I let Bella inside. She sat on the couch, wringing her hands nervously. I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you, I said. You should. She looked up at me. I knew what my mom was doing. Not everything, but enough. And I never stopped her. I sat down across from her. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm tired of being like her. Bella's voice cracked. I'm tired of the lies. The cruelty. The constant need to tear people down. She took a shaky breath. My mom is drowning, Maya. Financially, emotionally, everything. She's been lying to everyone for years. She can't afford half the things she brags about. She was never going to buy this house. My stomach twisted. What? She got rejected for the loan weeks ago. But she kept telling everyone she was buying it because she couldn't stand the idea of admitting failure. I sat back, stunned. All of this, the rage, the cruelty, the sabotage, was because Patricia couldn't face her own reality. I'm done enabling her, Bella said. I wanted you to know the truth. She stood to leave, then paused. I'm sorry. For everything. After she left, I sat in the silence of my new home. And I made a decision. The next few days were chaos. Word spread through the family like wildfire. Patricia had lied about the house. She'd lied about her finances. She'd sabotaged my scholarship out of jealousy. Her reputation crumbled. People who'd defended her for years suddenly saw her clearly. Cousins who'd rolled their eyes at me started apologizing. Aunts and uncles who'd dismissed my pain now wanted to make amends. Patricia tried to spin the story, blaming me for turning the family against her. But no one was listening anymore. She sent me message after message, alternating between rage and desperate apologies. You've destroyed me. I'm sorry. I was wrong. You're vindictive and cruel. Please forgive me. I didn't respond to any of them. My cousin Marcus called. Maya, some of us are planning a confrontation with Patricia. We want her to admit everything publicly. Will you come? I thought about it. I thought about revenge. About vindication. About making her feel every ounce of pain she'd caused me. But then I looked around my beach house, at the life I'd built despite her, and I realized something. I didn't need revenge. I needed peace. No, I told Marcus. I'm done with her. 3 weeks later, I hosted my first dinner at the beach house. I invited my grandmother, Emma, Marcus, Jade, Bella, and a few other cousins who'd shown me kindness over the years. Patricia wasn't invited. We cooked together in my new kitchen, laughing and telling stories. The house filled with warmth and light. For the first time in my life, a family gathering didn't feel like walking through a minefield. It felt like home. As we ate dinner on the deck, watching the sunset paint the sky, my grandmother raised her glass. To Maya, she said. For showing us all what strength really looks like. Everyone clinked glasses. I felt tears prick my eyes, but they were good tears this time. After dinner, I stood on the deck alone, watching the waves. A car drove by slowly on the road below. I recognized it immediately. Patricia's car. She slowed to a stop, staring up at the house. At the lights glowing in the windows. At the family gathered inside. A family she could have been part of if she'd just treated me with basic respect. She sat there for a long moment. Then she drove away. The next morning, My phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from Patricia. I almost deleted it without reading. But something made me open it. The message was long, rambling, and bitter. Half apology, half blame. She claimed she'd only wanted what was best for me. That she'd been protecting me from myself. That I'd overreacted to her tough love. But buried in the middle was a line that caught my attention. I see now that I may have been too hard on you. May have been. Not I was wrong. Not I'm sorry. Just, may have been too hard. I read the email twice. Then I deleted it. Patricia would never truly change. She would never take full responsibility. She would always find a way to make herself the victim. And that was okay. Because I didn't need her apology to move forward. I'd already moved forward. I closed my laptop and walked out onto the deck. The morning sun was warm on my face. The ocean sparkled like diamonds. This house, this life, this peace, I'd built it all myself. And no one could take it away from me. Over the next few months, my business continued to grow. I hired 2 employees. I took on bigger clients. I started teaching online courses about graphic design and entrepreneurship. My little apartment became a distant memory. The beach house became my sanctuary. Some mornings, I'd wake up and forget where I was. Then I'd hear the waves and remember, this was real. This was mine. My family slowly rebuilt around me. The ones who'd stayed silent during Patricia's cruelty now made an effort to be present. They apologized. They asked about my life. They treated me like I mattered. It wasn't perfect. Some relationships were too damaged to fully repair. But it was better. Bella visited often. She'd started therapy and was working on breaking free from her mother's toxic patterns. We weren't best friends, but we were building something honest. Patricia, meanwhile, had become a ghost. She'd stopped coming to family gatherings. Stopped calling. Stopped trying to control the narrative. I heard through the family grapevine that she'd moved to another town. That she'd filed for divorce from Derek. That she was working a job she hated. Part of me felt sorry for her. But mostly, I just felt nothing. One Saturday afternoon, I hosted a barbecue. 20 people showed up, family, friends, new neighbors from down the beach. My deck was packed with laughter and conversation. Emma helped me grill. Marcus brought his guitar and played music. Jade brought her new boyfriend, who fit in perfectly. My grandmother sat in a chair by the railing, smiling as she watched everyone. "You've built something beautiful," she told me later, squeezing my hand. "Thank you for always believing in me," I said. "I'm sorry I didn't defend you more," she whispered. "I should have protected you from her." "You did what you could," I told her. "And you're here now. That's what matters." As the sun set, I stood at the edge of the deck, looking out at the ocean. I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who believed she was a failure. The one who thought she'd never escape Patricia's shadow. That girl would be so proud of me now. The person I'd become wasn't just successful. She was free. And that freedom was worth more than any house. A year after I moved in, Patricia sent one final message. It arrived on a Tuesday morning, just a simple text. "I'm sorry." 2 words. Nothing else. I stared at my phone for a long time. I thought about responding. About asking what she was sorry for. About demanding a real apology, a detailed acknowledgement of every cruel thing she'd done. But in the end, I realized something. It didn't matter. Her apology didn't change the past. It didn't erase the pain. It didn't undo the sabotage or the years of cruelty. And I didn't need it to heal. I'd already healed. So I didn't respond. I set my phone down, grabbed my coffee, and walked out onto the deck. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, sparkling in the morning light. And I smiled. Not because of revenge. Not because Patricia had finally admitted she was wrong. But because I'd built a life that didn't revolve around her anymore. That winter, I hosted my first holiday gathering at the beach house. It was small, just 15 people, but it was filled with warmth. We decorated the house together. Strung lights along the porch. Cooked a huge meal. played games by the fireplace. For the first time in my life, the holidays felt joyful instead of stressful. There was no Patricia criticizing my outfit. No Derek making condescending comments. No tension waiting to explode. Just love. As we sat around the table for dinner, I looked at the faces around me. My grandmother, Emma, Marcus, Jade, Bella, and so many others who'd chosen to support me. I'm grateful for all of you, I said, raising my glass. Thank you for being my real family. Everyone clinked glasses, and the room filled with laughter. Later that night, as I cleaned up the kitchen, I heard a car engine outside. I glanced out the window and saw Patricia's car parked on the road. She sat there, staring at the house, at the lights, at the family inside. I watched her for a moment. Then I closed the curtain and went back to my guests. She could sit out there in the cold if she wanted. I was warm. Spring came to the coast in waves of color. Wildflowers bloomed along the dunes. Dolphins played in the surf. The air smelled like salt and new beginnings. I stood on my deck one morning, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. My business was thriving. My relationships were healthy. My home was filled with peace. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who believed Patricia's lies, the one who thought she was worthless. And I thought about the woman I'd become. Strong, successful, free. The beach house wasn't my revenge. It was my proof. Proof that I was never the failure Patricia claimed I was. Proof that cruelty doesn't win. Proof that sometimes the best response to hate is simply living well. My phone buzzed. It was a message from a new client, excited to work with me. I smiled and replied. Then I set my phone down and looked out at the ocean. The waves rolled in, steady and endless. And I realized something powerful. I didn't need Patricia's apology. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need anything from her at all. Because I'd already won. Not by taking something from her, but by building something she could never touch. Myself.